Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an NPC bodybuilder. Today's guest is Jamal Musbah. Jamal, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, guys? I'm happy to be here. It's I've seen a couple of your podcasts, so this will be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
For sure, man. We're gonna get into bodybuilding talk, a little life talk, and really looking forward to just kind of seeing what your mindset is as we're less than 14 days out from nationals this year. So before we get to all that stuff, Jamal, I want to ask you, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
Okay, so I guess for me, when with that question, I don't have a particular favorite, but there of course are those that come to mind. Those that you could really tell they were very passionate and maybe even a little artistic about it and loved it. Sean Ray, like him or not, he was very obsessed with the whole mental and physical, aspect of it, and methodical and smart. And then you have Dorian Yates, who did it his way. It's like a lot of the image that they portrayed for us kind of allows us to kind of, I guess, in the beginning, portray how our image would be to ourselves. And physique wise, I couldn't help but Kevin Levrone. When I was like, that physique, I feel like I could relate to. There's parts of his physique I just don't have genetically, but then there was parts where I could relate to it. So I think I liked him because of that. And then Jay Cutler, I just liked his mentality. Kai Green, I would say, was probably the most influential at a very pivotal point when I was younger, just because of what his upbringing and, the way that he connected with everyone. I was one of those people that he connected with earlier in his career before he was at the top. So, yeah, I'd say the ones I've mentioned so far.
Okay. Now, in terms of current IFBB pros, are there any guys that you admire or look up to, or at least respect their physiques?
Yeah, on the Olympia level, I am half Arab, so right next to Egypt, of course, Big Ramy. I'd like to see those guys there. Kamal, you got Hadi Chupon, but Hadi Chupon, I would say, man, he's been impressing me so much on stage as far as his look and condition and those things. Of course, you got the Nick Walkers and the ones that, everyone thinks of, then they think of them for a reason. They stand out for a reason because they're damn good and they're impressive. And that's what motivates us. So really, even, Brett Wilkin getting second, I mean, that physique is okay, yeah, that's a great, tight, nice pop to his physique. There's a lot of good new bodybuilders out too. And it's hard to just name one because right now too, I've been doing this a while now where I kind of feel I'm a big fan of the sport and I watch it a lot, but I've been really focused on where my place is going to be in on the national level, and then letting those guys on the higher level still inspire me. But yeah, I would say Hadi Chupon and these guys. Hadi Chupon, yeah, comes to my mind as far as hard, awesome graininess and conditioning and pop,
For
so
sure.
physique wise.
Yeah. Love that, Jamal. Okay. Why don't you let us know at what age you started lifting weights, and then why did you start lifting weights at that specific age?
Well, I was 15 and a half, and I was just in my second semester, my sophomore year. I remember my brother tried getting me to work out before then, and I just didn't want to go to the gym. But I guess maybe I just didn't know what it was about. And then, I had gotten expelled my freshman year in high school. And then I went to an alternative school, and I just knew I had to find something that would take my attention. And, I didn't know what it was going to be, but I joined a new school. I heard there was a weights class. I had a friend that was in the weights class. And I was nervous and intimidated and scared because, people are very they want to prove stuff. And I was not that kind of kid who wanted to like prove stuff like I'm tough, but I really needed a serious outlet. And so when I started working out in weights class, man, I responded like really fast physique wise, you know? I'm not saying I got huge really quick, but I went from 130 to, I was kind of short, maybe 5'6.5" then. I'm 5'9" now, 5'8.5". But from like I gained like 18 pounds in like 40 days of natural, but like I wasn't eating, I was never working out. So you get that initial growth, like you're still going through puberty. And I just remember at that point, I was treated completely different by people. And I was all of a sudden accepted and people wanted to talk to me, but I never experienced it before. So, but I always wanted friends. I always wanted people to like want to be my friend, but I didn't know how to like make friends, I guess, at the time. And then it became like, oh my God, these guys are trying to be my friend. And I think I got a little bitter that people wanted to be my friend then. So it made me just never want to stop. So I just kept training like in weights class. And then it got to a point where I'd go to weights class and then I just ignored my responsibilities when it came to school too. So right when I was done with school, I just go home, eat whatever my mom had, and I go straight to 24-hour fitness for my real workout. Because we only had 30 minutes because you have to dress out, then you have to dress back out. We had like 30 minutes and we would do 3 body parts in a day. And I just felt like it wasn't enough. And yeah, so once I got out, I remember after high school, man, I remember thinking, I was just like, shit, what am I going to do? I don't have a coach. And I just remember, I never forgot this. When I was walking up to 24-hour fitness, when they said, you have to be your own motivation. You have to, otherwise you're not going to have this thing that's making you feel good. That's making you like one day, like life is going to be good for you mentally. And you don't know what it is now, but this is going to like be a good start for you. This gives you structure. And so it started like that. Bodybuilding, I mean, I feel like I'll continue to talk, so maybe you want to interject, but bodybuilding, so I didn't know I was bodybuilding yet. I was training every day. I saw stuff on the internet, but it was more like Greg fitness stuff. And then I remember I registered for college, and I did it because my dad wanted me to go, and he was like educated and like he had his PhD and stuff. Came from Libya, but you know he wasn't really there, and he also as soon as I turned 18 and got into school, he vanished. We didn't know where he was, so he was gone, and it took a couple years to kind of reconnect and find out where he was, and you know, that's a whole different story. But that just made me feel like, you know, what am I even doing here? Like, this isn't, I don't know. So then I had a buddy in New York. He's like, dude, just fucking come out here. I was like, all right, let's fucking go. I'm just going to like do fitness modeling and work out. And man, can you get me a job at the security man place or bartending or something? And he's like, yeah. So I'm like, let's do it. So then I remember being there for a short amount of time, and then you meet people at specific times for specific reasons, and they may not be in your life forever, but you always appreciate them. And he took me to my first show, the 2009 Eastern USA's in New York. I remember there was the teen national champion was doing like a warm up there. I think his name was Nick Medici. And then there was all these guys. These were like national level bodybuilders at a local show. And I just remember like being like, I look back at it now. It's like, they must have thought I was a weird kid, but my friend was friends with the line judge and stuff. So then he got me backstage and I'm asking these other amateurs if I can take pictures with them with my shirt off. So then I can see what it looks like to take a picture with someone who does what I do even more. And I just remember walking down the New York, I forget what street we were on after the show. And he asked me, dude, do you want to continue doing like this fitness stuff or do you want to bodybuild? And I just remember thinking like, there's no way in hell I could do this fitness stuff knowing that there's another level out there that I'm not trying to achieve. And from then on, I gave myself an identity at a young age that I held on to, which nowadays is a whole different thing. The identity part has shifted. I have different motivation and different reasons for what I do, and for different reasons. But yeah, at that point, that's when I made it a big part of my identity, and I just had the fire, and I remember coming back to Arizona. Then I started to get ready for my first show.
Okay.
So yeah.
Perfect. So we're going to take a couple steps back, Jamal. I want to touch a little bit more on your childhood, and then we'll transition more into bodybuilding talk. So now, will you share with us kind of like your heritage and stuff? You mentioned it kind of in passing earlier. And then did you always grow up in Arizona? Talk about, and then you mentioned getting expelled from high school your freshman year. So talk a little bit about what was life like for you when you were younger, Jamal, and just paint that picture for us of that childhood up to about high school, and then stop it right when you get to high school, because I want to transition from there.
Okay. So, so I was born in Madison, Wisconsin. That's where my dad met my mother, because he came here from Libya, which I always just say Libya, you probably know, but Libya is right next to Egypt. It's there in North Africa. He came here on a scholarship, and my mom was in Wisconsin, and they met, and then they got together, and my brother, I have an older brother, he was born, and then by the time I was born, actually, my dad had to go back to Libya to go. Basically, the deal of the scholarship is you have to go back for a few years and teach as a professor there. So he wasn't also very concerned about what was going on here. I think a lot of it was so anyways, we basically, so when I was born, he was already there. Like, so they had done their thing to conceive me. He left. I so happened to have then been in my mom's belly. When I was born, he wasn't there for the first 2 years. We lived, with my aunt, which was my aunt and my mother at that time in my life were the things that made me think life was just perfect. We shared a trailer with each other, and we loved each other, and I experienced a lot of love. I'll tell you that, for that period of time. And then we actually had moved to Libya for a short time. Well, 3 years. That's a whole different story. I'll just say, long story short, we were going to be there for maybe 3 to 6 months. We ended up being there for like 3 years. And that was not my mother's plan. That was not it wasn't my plan because I was too young. But long story short, we ended up coming back and making it back here with my father, which, just he wasn't the best situation for none of us. So I think it was just a situation where it helped all of us maybe get out of the situation we were in previously without him. And so then he had gotten a job in Arizona when I was 10. We moved here. And then I've been here ever since. Besides, when I moved to New York for a short time, I went to Vegas for a short time. But Arizona, I would say, is that's my home, in the sense of where I've grown up and been cognitive, more so of who I am and what I've gone through. And then high school, man, I got into, I think I was just trying to escape early on, and I didn't really know what was going on. And like I told you before, I really just so for example, when I came here, I didn't speak English. However, my whole family spoke English, because my dad was the only one from that country, and my dad wasn't around, so I really couldn't even speak the same language as my family. So I think I had a lot of anger and frustration when I was a kid. So by the time I was able to start understanding what was going on, I always felt behind in school, emotionally, especially emotionally. And so I didn't really know how to handle my emotions. And I was just scared of that. So I remember, in junior high, I started like smoking weed, whatever. And then I didn't get into like hard drugs. To be honest, I just really enjoyed at that time smoking marijuana, and I for some reason did it every day at school. And I did it in the bathrooms like an idiot. I just didn't even think about consequences. I may have wanted to get in trouble. Maybe I needed someone to talk to me. I don't know. But I just remember getting caught and getting expelled. And then, that's when I went to the other school and just realized, like, okay, like, I know I'm a good kid. Like, I have my mom's heart inside of me, but man, I'm just like, I just don't know if, like, do I care enough about life to do what I got to do? What is it? I don't know. I just felt lost, I guess. And so when I found the gym, it was just like, it was like what it was for a lot of people. It was like like it just put me upright and it gave me a purpose. And then it made me realize, like, I can communicate with people. I can, um, you know, I can be a person that isn't ashamed of himself. And that was probably the most important thing for me. And that's why, like, as a trainer, like, we're in like my little 1,000 square foot studio I share with my fiance, Melissa. And like, that's why I ended up here, I guess, but I never thought I was going to be a trainer. It's just all I knew, all I do. So, yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it, man. See, this is why having these conversations with you athletes and coaches, it's so powerful, man, when you guys open up and share your stories, because like we were saying before I hit record, like we all have a story, man. And like, it's so fun to kind of like reminisce and just kind of like get behind the muscle, because like we all have a starting point, right? And we
Yeah.
don't get big, we don't get jacked, we don't win pro cards and all that overnight. Like there's a story, there's a process, and it's powerful, and it's cool, man. So now once you kind of found weights, that was kind of like your became your thing, your outlet. Now, once you were kind of finishing up with high school, Jamal, outside of lifting weights, bodybuilding, kind of fitness stuff, did you have any thoughts at all about like maybe a career or a job? I know you mentioned your dad kind of like pushed college or whatever, but
Yeah.
did you have any thoughts about job careers, or were you just kind of like going through the motions at that point and just enjoying lifting weights when you were in those late teen stages?
I was so no, I didn't have any other really direction. And I was always very embarrassed of that because I didn't, and then I had like bitterness that I didn't learn the tools that I needed to learn. And I just didn't care when I should have cared when I was younger. I'm glad I didn't, because I feel like I'm persevering. I never feel safe, but I do feel secure currently. But the only reason is because I desperately needed to follow whatever it was that has been guiding me since the beginning and just never give up on it. And then things just started to happen to where now Melissa and I are able to make a living. Now, we don't like ball out at all, but we definitely are surprising ourselves now. Been here for 2.5 years. And before that, we were just doing it at a bedroom at our house. And I was too embarrassed to do it out of there. So I didn't really have any clients. And I'm not one of those people that like to be like, sell services and stuff, because I didn't do this to like, I have to make money, but I like, I needed to, otherwise I didn't have anything else. Like, I needed to, but I knew that I needed to do it in a way where it was organic and real, and I needed to give my all to it. And so when people, so everything's, if someone comes to me or whatever wants to do it, anyways, it's besides, I think I'm losing I'm coming off base here.
No, no, you're fine. So coming out of high school, you didn't really have any thoughts about job or
Yes.
career, but then you
Yes.
said that your dad kind of pushed college. So did you go to college for a while? What was that experience
Yeah,
like?
short time. Yeah, short time. I actually did a little better there than high school, but man, I just lost interest way too fast. And then that's when I went to New York. And then when I came back here, I worked like regular little jobs, whether it be at a like a cleaners, whatever I could, 6 months here and there, collect some money, then work somewhere else. Um, and then yeah, just like basically was doing that. Then I just was like training people on like I'm not saying it's not at all at a high level now, but it was like a low level, the same as just to get by. And then slowly it just more turned into like, oh, like, we're doing this on another level. I think we need more space. Let's buy some equipment. Oh shit, we have equipment and everything. And then like, I basically it's basically, it's a, you know, it's a full-time right now thing, you know. But yeah, like I always just told myself this. And of course my mom, you know, was always like, you got to freaking do something else, or got to figure. I told her I'd retire by 30 if I'm gonna stop competing, because I never thought that bodybuilding is going to make me my living, but I needed to keep doing it. And I needed to figure out what I was going to do. So then like I could actually have like a wife and not be like, you know, like, and like have a life and like do things in a way, you know, and be able to afford the traveling, and also be able to like feel like I'm in a position to like help too a little bit, you know, with things that aren't my own. And we're you know, we're traveling to that space now. We're pretty much there now, but yeah, it was kind of like, for me, I just had to keep a blind faith, which I don't always believe in blind faith, but I didn't really feel like I had a choice, so I had to. And the toughest time was probably, which we could maybe talk about later because this is much later, but I had gotten injured and I stopped training for 3 years. That was later down the road after I've already had some success in bodybuilding in my early mid 20s. That's also why I didn't retire when I was 30, because I said, oh, a few years got taken away from me.
Okay. Now I want to ask this question, and then we're going to really start transitioning into more bodybuilding talk. Now, you said that your dad, it sounds like from your story up to this point, he was kind of in and out of your life, right? Is that fair to say, at different times?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
So do you feel like what either is this something consciously, or maybe it's subconsciously? I want you to answer it, but do you feel like, because you just mentioned like you wanted to make a living so that you could provide, that's kind of like what I was getting from what you were just talking about, like you
Yeah.
wanted to be able to have a wife, you want to be able to provide, you want to be like a caretaker, right?
Yeah.
For your family and for your significant other and things like that. Do you feel like, again, consciously or subconsciously, that maybe the lack of your dad's presence in your life when you were younger, is that kind of driving you to be you know, that provider, and have kind of like that drive within you to push forward?
Yeah. But one, because like I always felt, I don't feel bad for my mom because she's stronger than me. And but at the same time, I'm like, God, she deserved someone that cared so much more and that didn't do what they did to her and put her in the situation that she was in, having to take care of me and my brother. And then on top of that, you know, things that were maybe, you know, definitely, you know, like just like it was an abusive relationship. And but yeah, he's been gone for like 15 years now anyways. He has a family there in Libya and things like that. We keep in touch once in a while. Um, but I think that the thing I got from him is, when I saw my dad, I didn't really see my dad. I saw he was, they call, you know, like the people that knew him called him Dr. Musbah, and he didn't really communicate with us like we were his children. It was like we were passing by him. There, he would often communicate to my mother, to communicate to us if there was. He didn't even discipline us because I don't think he really even wanted the responsibility. But what I saw was like, yeah, man, that guy did do. You know, he came here. You know, he learned English. He went to English school. Then he learned English. He was determined. And I felt like maybe I won't do what he did, and maybe it will be completely different, and maybe it won't, you know, be as impressive. But I know that I just wanted to just be, put my all into something, and sometimes that's where I see myself in him. Maybe that I put my all into it, but where I feel like maybe I'm starting to have that balance that he maybe didn't have, is, which I probably get from my mother and from myself, watching them, is where I feel like I don't want it just to be about me, though, even though it is, because I'm a bodybuilder and we have to make it about us. My girl competes too, so it's about both of us. Um, uh, but but yeah, I think for me, it's like, for example, we have like this a Nissan uh, Maxima. It's not like the nicest car, but it's nice. My dad had enough money to buy a nice car, but he didn't believe in buying anything over like $1,500. So we never had AC in our cars and things like that. And it was always very embarrassing when it came to material stuff, shoes, worn clothes, things like that. But we could afford it. It just never. But I understand now even more. But what I love about that is like I don't need very much. I don't feel like so that's why I feel like I have enough. I have more money than I need because I don't need very much. And like as long as like Melissa's happy and like and then like we know we're progressing like here and then like because then every time I've worked on myself, everything else has gotten better. I'm not really good at controlling, like I'm not great at strategizing because I overthink so much. So for me, I think I just learned what not to do and what to try to do more of. And then believe that, Jamal, just get out of your head. If you get in a good mood, in a good place, you communicate with people different, you just, everything happens differently for you. So for me, I just kind of like, some people call it manifestation, but I think it's just like knowing how to deal with yourself a little better over time. Bodybuilding is why, like, that is like Bruce Lee and stuff. Like, man, what I love about, which I want bodybuilding to be more of, and I'm not the best example yet, but like Bruce Lee took martial arts and made it like a philosophical endeavor. And I feel like bodybuilding could be that so much, and it is for some people. And I feel like even Dorian Yates, that's what was cool about him and those guys I was talking about, because Kai Green, it was like, it was, and people call it artistic, yes, but it was more philosophical because religion is philosophy. Like we need faith, we need understanding, we need to put things into perspective to be okay. Just going to the gym and bodybuilding and being the best, then you can get worse mentally by being holding on and attaching to that ego of being this great champion, because I know what it feels like to get it ripped away from me and then having to accept that I'm just me,
Yeah.
you know?
I like that, man, because the older I get and the longer I've been, training and bodybuilding, like there's different levels to it, man, in terms of just the mind and I'm not going to say for me, not spirituality, because, I have a very strong faith outside of bodybuilding in my body,
Yeah.
but there are definitely levels to bodybuilding, and the longer you are in it and the more open you become to the process of bodybuilding and the lessons that bodybuilding wants to teach you, dude, it's deep. But we won't get we won't go too far into that, because I want to
Yeah,
stay
maybe we'll have
focused.
another conversation
Yeah,
there.
yeah, that'll be a whole 2-hour podcast separately, like the philosophical side of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
We'll save that because I want to get more into your story. So,
Yes.
but I feel you, man. I love where you're at with that. Now, you go to New York. That's when you're really first exposed to bodybuilding. You
Yeah.
went to this competition in 2009 in New York. Then you
Yeah.
moved back to Arizona. Why don't you pick us up at that point? You've been
Okay.
exposed to bodybuilding. You come back to Arizona, and then you start getting ready for your first competition. Like, start unpacking that, please.
So I went, back to Arizona. So back to 24-hour fitness at the time, which was where I was working out at, and just excited and just felt like, oh guys, I'm gonna do a show. And I remember it was gonna be the show called the Copper Classic. It was like a natural show. And I remember walking in across the street because I needed a pre-workout to go into 24-hour fitness a few minutes later and work out. And I saw my first bodybuilder in Arizona at that time. So, when you want something, everything becomes symbolic, right? You think everything's guiding you somewhere. So then he's fucking passing out Gaspari stuff, and his name is Scott Turner. He's an IFBB pro now. He's local here. And I just remember looking at him, and then I was like, oh shit, I fucking need to talk to that guy. But I don't want to be like annoying or a fan. So like I took my time over at the pre-workout. And then then I just couldn't help myself. I said, dude, I want to look like that. Like you are exactly what I want to do. Like that's like what I'm trying to become right now. And then he asked me if I was training over across the street. And then I was like, yeah. So I went across the street, and I remember telling the other kids my age that worked out, you guys, this freaking bodybuilder's about to come in here and like talk to me or something, and he was going to work out anyways. So, he was just telling me what show you're going to do. And he said I should do the Arizona Open, which is like the most competitive show in Arizona. This was going to be the 2010 Arizona Open. And I was like, all right, if you think that's a more competitive show, I'll do it. So then I didn't know what else to do. So then I called my friend in New York again and said, dude, I need to get out of here. I can't be around my friends and everything. I'll be way too distracted. And I know when I'm in New York, all I do is work out and walk and do cardio. And if I could just stay there for at least 8 weeks, dude, that would be so sick. So I went back for like the first 8 weeks. I didn't really know how to diet. I just was like, all right, I just got to lose weight. And then I went into this gym called Steel Gym. Victor Martinez trained there. A guy named Jason Joseph, who's currently a 212 competitor, trained there. So I was like around some guys that were, of course, really jacked. And I was just, happy to be there. I remember, I don't even know who it was, another bodybuilder was like, dude, let me see your diet. So I like showed him what I'm eating. He's like, you're eating way too much. And I've just never been on a diet before. So to me, just being on a plan was enough. And I was like, well, like I look good, cause like I was like a fitness guy, like, I had no idea. And so I remember I started training legs really hard the last 8 weeks and they responded pretty well. And then I flew back to Arizona the last 2 weeks. And then me and my brother did cardio for the last 2 weeks together. And then I did the show. And as soon as I got backstage, I knew there's no way in hell I'm winning this shit. I thought I was going to be Mr. Arizona until I realized there's no way in hell. So I was lucky because back then, and it was even more even before then, but back then, bodybuilding was still kind of steep. Maybe 16 guys, 8 of them were good. And I got 5th in the novice. I don't even remember where I placed in the open, but I didn't give a shit. I was so happy. I didn't care about the trophy. I'm glad I got one, but I was like, I'm going to do the show again next year. So I just got into an off season. And then I did the show the next year. And then I got 2nd in the open to the overall winner. And I won the overall in novice. And I was doing my own diet at the time. My current coach at the time helped me with the peak week. His name is David Hill, PSP Nutrition. But he helped me with the peak week that time because he's very interested in all that stuff. So he was like, hey, you think I could help you peak? And I was like, sure, that's perfect timing. So then we ended up like doing pretty well. And the overall winner, he's a pro now. And I was like so like proud that I got 2nd to a guy who 2 weeks later got like 7th at the USA's. That motivated me. So then I was like, I'm doing the show next year. I ended up doing a different show the next year, and I feel I was ready to win the show. However, I completely sabotaged myself. I over-dieted like crazy, and I got 6th in the open at the border states. This is embarrassing, but I walked off stage. I thought I was at least going to place. I mean, the guy who won the show thought I was going to do well until the last week. I don't know what I did. Well, I know what I did. I was crazy. And I didn't deserve it to win anyway. So then I walked out, bawled my eyes out. I'm about 24 at this time. I bawled my eyes out in front of everybody waiting in line to step on stage. And I just remember a guy named Robert Farrell, who's local too. He's a gym owner here. He pulled me aside and said, dude, you're fucking young, man. And like, you've got all the potential like in the world. Like, it's okay. This happens. This is normal. And I didn't know like how to take it because I didn't, it was everything to me. And so I said, I'm taking another year off. And this time I did another show. I did the Las Vegas Classic. I was different mentality. I was 24 years old now, still young, but then I was like, I'm seasoned. And it was I'll say this. So I didn't have money at the time. So I sold my car to pay for all my supplements, to pay for everything, to get myself there. And I 2 weeks. So then I had a photo shoot in Miami. I was like, everything's going well. I flew to Miami, got paid $500, 6 shots from a sick photographer. Then flew back dropped a whole bunch of weight from the flight, like flying and traveling. And then I must have been like too dry to be working out. And I was Smith pressing and something happened in my neck. And I went home. I still did the show. I still won the show. But 2 weeks before the show, I woke up the next morning and I couldn't move my arm at all, like at all. I couldn't move from the shoulder down to my fingertips. Like I couldn't even, my brain just did, it was completely paralyzed. And I remember at that time, Melissa was telling me before this that God will answer your prayers. And I remember in the car before we worked out, I always like to have these talks with her to help get us ready. And I said, "You really think so?" So I started praying before this, like not asking for anything, just trying to like have maybe a dad to talk to, somebody that was so strong that I knew, whatever it was. And I didn't even fucking worry at all. I just shifted my diet. I lowered my carbs and I did more cardio. And then like I just said, I'm just gonna keep moving. I didn't work out. I just did cardio. And luckily I was in shape a little early. And then it was like the Thursday before the show, I was able to like lift my arms up like this and do poses. And then Friday happened. I just kept posing. So through the show, I was able to hit all my shots. I had a little bit of like atrophy already going on, but my conditioning was good. I guess my aesthetics were good. It was the first time I was a heavyweight, 210, weighed 210. So on the bottom side, I won a competitive show, and they told me all you need is 7 more pounds. You brought national conditioning, your physique, you can do this. I'm like, I'm taking another year off and I'm gonna do this. So I get invited to go to a gym to go work out. Me and Melissa go to the gym to go work out. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna warm up, see how my shoulder feels, because I haven't worked out in like 3 weeks. So I go to lift off 135 pounds. I can move my arms and stuff, so I didn't think something was wrong. And then I go to lift it off, and it goes right down. I said, Melissa, lift up the weight, lift up the weight. She lifted it up. I said, let's leave. I don't want no one to see what just happened. So I told them I have to go. My mom called me, something happened, I gotta go. I didn't walk in the gym for 3 years after that. I was ashamed. I thought that I didn't know how to, I realized then how much I relied on that for social interaction and social confidence. And I knew and it wasn't really like, I don't know if it's I had low self-esteem. I just didn't know how, to like do it very well. I don't know. So anyways, I just realized, oh my God. So then I had some clients at the time, and I just told them that I can't do this. I can't talk to you guys. I only kept 3 clients. And then my current coach, well, what's funny is leading up to that last show, the overall, I met up with the same coach that helped me peak for my second show. And he's now been my coach since. And he was there with me for those 3 years. I checked in over at his house, David Hill's house, just to see if my mind was right. We still did check-ins, and I wasn't working out. And I was like, I can't believe he's doing this for me. Like, but I'm coming because I guess I need somebody to talk to. I need a friend or something. And we just talked about regular stuff. But anyways, so where was I at on the last one? I was
that 135 pounds dropped on your chest. Your significant other
yes.
grabbed it, and then you said you didn't walk back in the gym for 3 years, but
yes.
you continue to check in with your current coach David for that time frame.
That time. And then I remember me and Melissa broke up because she basically saw a man who had so much like passion and fire for his life. I just gave up, and I knew she was going to leave. And when she did, I wish that she didn't at the time. I didn't, but I completely understood. Like, I don't deserve anybody. Like, I'm no good right now. at the end of the day, the way that I'm acting and being, like, I don't even see the value. Like, I just needed to be alone, I guess. And she knew that. We ended up getting back together. And the funny thing is like, what did I do? Because I didn't know what else to do. I said, I'm going to New York. I'm going to New York, visit my friend. I'm going to go to the gyms out there. I got there. I just had so much, I think, anxiety or something. I was just sick to my stomach every morning for like 3-4 hours. And I couldn't even eat. And I just wanted to throw up every day. I didn't know what it was. But I just had so much anxiety. I felt like I was in a bad dream. Like I was like, something was going on with me. And so I had to get out of there. But I remember when I was there, my coach David called me and said, dude, you're getting ready for a show. I said, are you serious? He said, yeah, it's 17 weeks out. You have to do it, else you're never going to do it. And it was just a year ago, and now it's 2 more years passed by. You know, you're getting ready for a show. So I'm like, all right, I haven't lifted any weights, but all right. So came back home, and I started prepping for a show. And then I ended up being a light heavyweight. We were going to try to make classic because it was out now. And because I couldn't lift with like weights on my upper body, I could just do pull-ups and calisthenics. And my old muscle kind of came back, but it didn't look great in my opinion. But I was conditioned again, and I won the show as a light heavyweight. And then it just took a long time to put the muscle back on because my training just wasn't what it could be. Like, I think it just took me double the length as someone else, you know? I just had a lot of like struggle in the gym. It was like, oh, I'm going to go train chest today. And it ended up just being like a rehab workout during all these preps that I was doing up until nationals last year. I did the USAs. I got 7th there too, but I looked like crap. I mean, I'm telling you, I looked like crap. And the reason why is not because like I looked decent, but my training was not good. And but I needed it. I needed this to help me even rehab. So then my coach told me, this is the first show I think that you're regressing. We need to do something. So I started going to the chiropractor because what happened, I found out is that after this, I started doing more research. So I have nerve damage here still in my serratus. So like if I were to bring down 315, this is not going to stabilize. So everything I do has to be kind of manipulated. But I found out that I had a neck fracture, and then bulging discs and stuff, and slip discs down my back, scoliosis, and all these things. So I now do my best to take care of it, and chiropractor, all that stuff, and it made it enough to where I could like load weight, and I looked way better for nationals. But it wasn't enough to like put me in a position where like maybe I am now. So this nationals, I was 213. I mean, everyone talks numbers. It could just mean because I'm going to be fat, but I don't. It's not going to be the case. I'll be at the lightest probably 218, 220, 222. So I'll be at least 7 to 10 pounds heavier. So I've managed to put on muscle, which I didn't. You never see till the end. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now we're gonna take. We're gonna take a step back here, quick, so that we can continue to move forward. Now, you kind of like from what I gather, Jamal, your identity when you started getting into bodybuilding was bodybuilding. Like that, it gave you the confidence, it gave you the ability to communicate and have the confidence to communicate with people, and it really gave you everything that you didn't have when you were younger. From the get-go, you started lifting weights, you put on like 18 pounds, people want to be your friend, and then you really got identified as Jamal the bodybuilder, Jamal the fitness guy, and that was your identity. And then when you had that injury and for 3 years you didn't have bodybuilding, like you didn't know who you were. You were literally lost, right? And I went through that when I quit playing football after my freshman year in college. All I knew growing up, Jamal, was sports, sports, sports. I ate it, I slept it, I breathed it, I went to school. It was all sports. But as soon as I was done playing football after my freshman year in college, now looking back, I literally went through an identity crisis. It was some of the darkest, hardest times of my life. My anxiety that I struggled with since I was a tween was, unbelievable, to the point where I didn't even want to get out of bed in college because it was just so overwhelming. And it was nuts, man.
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
was my life. That was my identity. So what I want to get out of you, what happened during that 3 years that you weren't bodybuilding and lifting weights? Like, I'm sure it was probably hard and dark, but when you started getting back into the game of bodybuilding and David kind of encouraged you to compete, I mean, did you come out a different person after those 3 years or not? Talk about having a new identity possibly.
So that's a great question, man. Thank you. Yeah. Well, at first it just felt like no matter how much I felt like hopeless, I guess, like, well, it's kind of a contradiction with what I'm going to say. I still knew that if I can get my shit together somehow, everything will be fine. Because whatever I was doing before, there was an energy there that I knew that if I keep following that, I'll be fine. However, I'm not able to do that, and I didn't know what else to do. So yes, then I'm lost. And I did feel very like vulnerable and scared and ashamed, and there was a beginning of a transformation. So I think at that point is when I really started to like seek help through like philosophy and books and maybe certain things from religion, things that anything that made me understand like self uh like suffering that's brought on from yourself and your ego, because I absolutely needed to feel better. And that's when I realized it's me, it's just myself. It's I identify with this character that if things kept going well for me, maybe I would have, what if I got really good? I tell myself, and then like all of a sudden now, maybe because I know in my heart I always did still care about people. So I do feel like I would have been still nice to people. However, I wouldn't have been able to really build the character. I would have just had all this stuff, and then all these people would respect me. However, I'm not really able to help them. And the whole point of me wanting to like be anything of value or like an influence was because in high school I so disliked the people who had influence, that didn't care about the people who didn't, that didn't want to like be like, yo, because I have this influence, I can tell this person to stop picking on this person and they'll listen to me. They, for me, it was like, oh my God, like I know it sounds cheesy, but you can use that stuff for like good kind of. So I'm not at the level where I feel like I can really do it. I can do it like in my personal life with my clients and try to be a better person or whatever. But yeah, like that's a part of my drive too. Um, to be there. I kind of got lost again on what I was
Oh,
saying.
no,
I'm
you're
sorry.
fine. We were just talking about you coming out of that 3 year period. I
Oh,
mean,
mhm.
you were a different guy once you kind of got back into bodybuilding after that 3 years, right?
Yeah. So I started doing like a lot of like calisthenics and like, man, like breathing stuff that I look back to now that I know that I need to do when I'm struggling with certain things today, that helped me so much. Like the breathing was like huge. And I forget to do this when I have anxiety today more, but I just don't have as much of it as I did then. So I was desperate. So I found a remedy. The breathing took over my thoughts, and then I was able to be calm, and then I was able to like feel normal. And then like reading books, like there's this Eckhart Tolle book. It's called The Power of Now, which just simplifies your way of understanding things. And it was really just trying to get out of my own way so then I could figure out how to find a way. And and then being able to compete, it was just been really rough for 3 years. It was really rough going back on stage with the because people would be like, "Do you have good genetics?" And you could do well, and I was just kind of like, I'm not able to kill it like I used to, and like these lions are. I'm like a fucking hurt lion. Should I just give up? And I'm young. I can't even like bend over. I can't do anything. So I was always pessimistic. I was like negative, and it was just like, this isn't a winner. This is like a loser. Like, and then so, but I knew that I just, so yes, discipline, like going to the chiropractor, doing what I got to do, breathing, not complaining about it anymore, and then like facing myself and saying, dude, Jamal, you have to do what it takes, or else it isn't gonna happen for you. And so it's just gotten a little better every year to now. I'm like, yo, shit. Like now, I think I'm almost on an even playing field with everyone else in a way because I've learned how to train too to make up for certain things I can't do. To where now I know I can improve at a steady rate, and I have like in the last year. Yeah, like I don't. I feel like I always had a hand tied behind my back, and time was ticking. And I started when I was fucking 21, and now I'm 33. And I'm like, when you look at the length of that, you're like, God, you must not be very good. But like, I know I'm way better than that. But like at the same time, I'm so grateful because I learned it's compound interest over time that's making me better, not just skipping over a large portion of potential learning. And I'm grateful for that. And you know, be honest, I don't even, I mean, if I did, that'd be crazy and I would keep going. But when I eventually get my pro card, I'll probably do a pro show as long as I'm healthy, but I don't plan on being the best in the world. Even if I did, I'm not saying I'd be able to get there, but if it happened, it would be like because I just took it one step at a time and it ended up happening. I don't, yeah. And I do wait for the day that I'm able to say goodbye with love and not resentment. But right now, if I said goodbye, I would resent myself. You know, so like for me, I feel rejuvenated. Like I feel like I'm finally starting. You know, right now.
And is it fair to say that you have a lot of gratitude in your heart right now, Jamal, because of all the stuff that you've been through over the last several years before you got back into competing? There's gratitude in your heart. There's a new found thankfulness within you that has changed you. I would say is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like a sense of like, I guess like humility or whatever that happens through like experience. And that, you know, like not trying to be humble, just realize you've been humbled. Kind of
Life
like, you know,
life
you
will
were
humble
saying
us,
yourself.
man. Life will humble us. Let me tell you, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So when did I'm curious, and then we'll get back into bodybuilding. But when did Melissa kind of come back into your life, and was that a catalyst for you to kind of maybe turn a corner, so to speak, in some of your struggles?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. When she left, the next day, I walked outside barefoot with my feet because I was doing research that all your problems in your spine start with your feet. So I'm like, okay, in order to fix my neck, I have to stop fucking with, or excuse me, messing with my neck. I gotta start like working from the ground up, or nothing's gonna happen. So I started walking backwards with my feet, trying to practice like grounding, and I started to feel so good, so powerful. I was skinny as hell, but I felt so strong inside. And I knew with this attitude, she's coming back because I know she loves me. We still talk every day. I'm still there for her. I do not resent her. I didn't bug her. I let her have her freedom, her time, her space. She deserved it because I knew she needed it and I needed it. But I knew, fuck, damn it, I know I love her. I'm thinking about how she's doing, how she feels, and then I know she loves me. Like we were best friends. It's just it was becoming toxic. It because we loved each other, we broke up. And I knew that if I just start to feel good again, that's all she wanted. She just wanted me to try. And but I didn't want to rush it either because I wanted to make sure I could sustain it, and it wasn't just something that was happening off an emotional response to her leaving. Um, so yeah, I think mid prep, she had gotten a procedure done. She was in Denver, um, and like for her breasts, and I said, "You can come and rest here. I'll take care of you while I'm in prep. That'd be fun for me." And she was like, "All right." You know, it was 6 months after we broke up. We met in 2010. I'm sorry. She did the same show I did in 2010, but we never met until 2012 when I was 22. We got together. So when I was like 25 or 26, that's when we broke up. We got back together like 6 months later, whatever, when I was 27. So when I was in prep for that show, she came back. She was like, "I'm not making promises that I'm going to stay." I knew she was going to stay. because I knew that she knew I loved her. I knew she felt secure in that, and that we have a great relationship. It was very toxic for a while, and we argued so much it was crazy. It was you couldn't even it was just not, it was perfect for us. It's what we needed. And yeah, so then she came back. I did the show, and then we've been together ever since. And then we've been together. We got engaged 8 years in. 8 years in. So we didn't even feel the need to go rush and get married, just because I felt like we just loved being together. Wasn't thinking about it. But I eventually did a couple of years ago, when we actually got this place. I proposed, and then we're going to fulfill that date here soon.
Yeah, cool.
So,
love it.
but yeah.
Okay, so in 2021 you did the nationals, and you got what placing?
In last year?
Yeah,
last year, 2021, seventh.
Okay, you got seventh. Now, coming out of nationals, you touched on it lightly, but I want you to go in a little bit more detail, and then we're gonna start wrapping it up. But you were up there with some heavy hitters. Last year's nationals was one of the most competitive pro qualifiers in quite a few years. I mean, so many legit physiques and athletes. So what was your mindset coming out of nationals in 21? And then what has been your focus in 2022? Because you just competed, was it yesterday or last weekend?
No, it was last Saturday. Yeah.
Okay.
I had to qualify.
Talk about your mindset coming out of nationals last year. What have you been focusing on, Jamal, all of this year? And then talk about the competition you did last weekend and what your mindset is going into this year's nationals in less than 2 weeks.
Okay, so after 2021 nationals, when I looked at pictures, I knew that, like, physique wise, I mean, I'm right there. I was right there. I mean, some people may have preferred my physique over the ones that beat me. I knew why they beat me, and it was because of some density. I needed more time in training. I needed to be denser, and if I can get even tighter, of course. I think the main issue was density. Even though always aiming for more conditioning. But I could just see they had about another year on me as far as like training the top 3-4 guys. But I knew that, look, damn, like I improved. I put on this much muscle in deficit in prep for this show, because I was not in a good place before that prep started. And I ended up literally putting on muscle and looking way bigger. I was lighter than my previous show before that, but I looked way better just from some little better stimulation. So now I have a training partner, someone who's forcing me and pushing me in the gym. Tony Legrin, he's an IFBB pro. He's here in AZ too. And he was like, yo, we're training, and we've been training 3 days a week, which is tremendous for me. And then I even forced myself to get in leg days with Melissa. People might not think that's dangerous. She's a wellness competitor. It's dangerous. No, but it's because it's holding me accountable to do glute work, which my coach has been very big on. Look, you need those glutes to be able to pop through that skin, and as we get tighter and leaner. And I think for me personally, I really wanted to just bring up my arms, which they came up a little bit. But my back, I think, came up a lot, and glutes and hamstrings were good, but they're even better now. Like it was density overall, and then creating a little more balance based on what I wasn't able to train previously. That became slightly imbalanced to my eye and my coach's eye. So that's what we worked on. And then going into this one, we didn't even know we were going to do a qualifier, because I won the California state in 2020. Then the whole COVID thing happened. For some reason, I thought I was qualified. So I was like, I'm qualified. And I didn't fucking think about it. And then we're like, damn it, we have to do this show. So we did it. We didn't change anything really. Like, I came in as a super heavy. I was 230 at weigh-ins. I'm going to be like 220, 219 probably for the show. I'm 224, 225. It was 224 this morning. So much tighter already. But we didn't change, not just went in like it was a regular day. And, I was scared, a little bit, because, no matter how good you are, you know, I didn't want to lose that at a local show, to be honest. I was like, hell no, you know. And afterwards, we were like, dude, it definitely wasn't going to happen. I don't know what you're worried about, but I don't know. So, you know, and then we did that. And what I love now is we've just improved already so much since then. I feel like at the rate of improvement and the muscle I'm able to hold this time is just so interesting. And I just need to keep pushing so it's a complete package, because it's going to look good either way. But if it's not fully ready, it doesn't matter. So I just want it to matter. You know what I mean? I'm going to be ready. I'm pushing it these next 2 weeks. We're better. When I compare pictures to last year, conditioning's a little better right now. And yeah, it should get better. And we're going to be our best.
Cool. What's so you were kind of on the outside of first call outs at last year's nationals. What's your personal goal? I don't want you to be politically correct. What do you want to accomplish at nationals this year, Jamal?
Okay. So for me, obviously anything seventh and under is like, I mean, I deal with disappointment well, but I definitely no way in hell. I mean, top five at least. I definitely want to be in that top five. I think that if I could surprise myself, I could see myself winning, but I don't really think that very often. I realized I thought that the other day. I had the thought, and I was like, "Oh shit, is that my thought?" Because I don't normally think that. Is that what confidence feels like? I don't know, but I had the thought, and that doesn't mean anything because I already know what these guys look like. And bodybuilding is one of those things where if your physique looks nice, that's great. But if this guy's even more crazy than you, he'll beat you. So I want to bring that balance. I think I'm gonna bring a balance of a little crazy and aesthetic, and then yeah. But I top five. But I definitely I'm not only coming there for top five. I'm just saying that's I'm not accepting anything less. Well, I have to accept it if it happens, but you know what I'm saying. That's my goal. At least fifth, and then beyond.
Okay. And top two in each weight category get pro card. So even if you get second, you're going
Yeah,
to walk away with the IFBB pro card, which would be kind of cool, right?
yeah. It is. It is. And you know what? The depth there, like at the USA's, I think I don't know how many guys. There was like 17 guys. I was like the depth there wasn't as large. We were going to prepare for that one. I had something happen in my groin where I couldn't do cardio for 4 weeks, which was a blessing. Everything happens perfectly, as long as you follow like whatever reason you think that it happened for. But but yeah, I have a feeling again nationals just is going to be a little bigger again. If it's not, uh, then it's not. But I feel like it will at least be 20 plus heavyweights.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a lot of the guys on, and it's gonna be a battle. I don't think any of you guys would want it any other way. Now you're gonna be a heavyweight again this year. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
cool, cool. All right, last thing I kind of want to touch on, and then we'll probably just finish up with a couple of lighter, more fun questions here, Jamal. I want to go back to your coach David. I came across him on your Instagram. I started following him, and I'd love to reach out to him at some point and get him on the podcast. I've never heard of him. Is he kind of like a local guy there in Arizona? And I just want you to touch on a little bit more in depth your relationship with him, because it sounds like he was really some sort of a rock for you kind of through a lot of the craziness of your life. So talk about how he's more than a coach and how he's really been there for you and what it means to kind of be going to battle again with David.
So when I won my first show, he was there the last 2 weeks because I had reached out to him because I needed somebody there when I hurt myself. I'm not going to scare anybody being such a crybaby on here, but he there was a couple people that wanted to work with me, and it's a joke, like what I'm about to say, but it happened. And he's like, maybe you should work with them because they're more known than me. But You can work with me and we just won't tell anybody. And I said, that is, first of all, the reason why I'm going to work with you. And I'm not going to work with anyone else. Also, because David can't help himself but to be so involved with the aspects of the sport, the aspects of the sport that make you great, you know, nutrition, hormones, and everything. And, you know, if you have other issues, this is his life, whether he's getting paid for it or not. And he doesn't do very well. So if you get him on this podcast, you did something that I believe he'll come on, but he doesn't want any credit. You know what I mean? And it's funny because I'm like, David, you know, people like knew more, like he's next level. And so my trust in him is beyond. And what I love is you know, I'm a coach too, and he's helped me so much in my coaching as well. And now we're at a point where sometimes I get to like have feedback with him and help him. And we have this great bond together because of that now. But yeah, he's been there for me through all of it. He's always been honest and real with me. And, you know, he has other athletes too. He just is very like selective. And I think he's just more very interested in the actual process and learning and doing. And I think if he were to put himself out there more, it would be like because it was needed, not because he needed it. He doesn't need that. However, he does this, and he's loyal. He's strict, but because he needs to be. And I would say like he's my best friend. You know, other than Melissa, he's my best friend. I love seeing him at check-ins every single week. I sit on his couch and I go over the hour like every time. And the check-ins have now just become I think a thing from him and me. And it's a great relationship, man. And he's a wonderful, wonderful coach that honestly anyone who wants to take it seriously, you will be better and better and better and better.
Awesome, man. Okay, now do you train kind of at your studio that you and Melissa have, or do you train at like a public gym, or what's that look like?
So I have trained here, sometimes closer to prep where I'm like, I cannot be at a regular gym. I'll do some stuff like we have like a Smith machine, a hip thrust, a leg extension, this, you know, little things, leg press, some stuff over there, and dumbbells. There's enough to get a session in, but I need the environment, bigger environment. And I like to leave. I guess, you know, it's work. I got to get the hell out of here.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. I own a gym, and I actually don't train at the gym that I own. I go to a garage, and that's where I train because you got to get away, man. There's got to be separation. You know what I mean? So now I got to ask you this. This is going to be kind of our fun wrap up question. I like to ask people sometimes, Jamal. When you're at your public gym, what are some of your gym pet peeves? What kind of drives you nuts when you're at those gyms and people are doing this or not doing that?
Okay. I would say, I mean, this one doesn't count because anyone who does what we do would dislike it when they leave their weights on the machines. But I would say more so people who are judgmental over, well, I train at a gym called The Gym in Mesa. It's called The Gym. They have some in California too. You know, they have pictures of bodybuilders on the walls. Like the awesome picture you have is your logo, by the way. Not that picture, but you know what I mean. Cool 6 shots. And you know, you can pose there, you can do things like that there. However, my biggest thing is I didn't like making other people feel uncomfortable, even in the grocery store. So for me, I would always end up doing this because I try to look smaller than I am because I just hate. I imagine how they feel, and when people are insecure, they don't know how to deal with it, and then they project themselves on me, and then I can get angry, I can get mad, and I have, when and people can be sarcastic when things like that, like little things like that, like people who are rude. That's it. People who don't like. Here's one thing: if I was talking and someone wanted to use my machine, it's your fucking machine now. I lost it. It's like just certain little respect value things. I don't deserve that machine because I was talking over it for 2 minutes. You wanted the machine, you deserve it, buddy. Go get it. I don't care if you're 130 pounds or not. I was 130 pounds and I wanted to be where I was. Your goal's just as important as mine. Now, there is times where I'm like, look, I'm fucking 2 weeks out. I know you don't need to be here for that. Please, I need you to stop standing there. Little things like that. But I try to be extra nice so that people are nice to me. Because if they're not, I just have to then learn how to, not get kicked out of the gym.
Yeah, right. Awesome, man. Well, you know what? I think we're going to end it right there, Jamal. I think we could probably keep going for another hour, but you are less than 2 weeks out from nationals. You just competed. Yes. You're deep into prep. And I just want to say, man, thank you so much for really opening up, sharing your life story, your bodybuilding story. This is, this is a passion project for me. And it just excites me to kind of just be able to share your guys's and some of the ladies I have on your guys' stories with the world, because just like back in the day, we had the magazines and we would open up and look at Ronnie and Jay and Kevin Levrone and Sean Ray and just be encouraged and built up and like, yeah, we'd read their stories and do their workouts. We have new platforms now, podcasting and social media. And when you guys do open up and you share your stories, like somebody's going to watch, somebody's going to listen, be like, I want to be like Jamal, like, or some part of your story is going to touch somebody and it's going to build them up. It's going to uplift them. And so I just want to say thank you, man, for just opening up and sharing your story. Okay.
Thank you, dude. Thank you. Because first of all, that's like, pioneer shit, right? That you're doing. I mean, I know a lot of people are doing podcasts, but this specific thing, man, like I'm sure not a lot of people turned you down for this, because guys like us, we don't get to have this unless if you're the best. And so you're literally just gave me like, I was able to say things I've never been able to say. And I don't want to have to repeat this to everybody. So now it's on YouTube. And I just appreciate that, man, a lot. And like, I know like I can't wait to see your podcast continue to grow, and maybe one day I'll be on it again.
That's right.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, you're welcome, Jamal. Before I do a quick outro and I do let you go, I want to give you the opportunity to share any final thoughts, any final words, any shout outs. Make sure you give us your Instagram, anything that you kind of want to leave us. Then I'll do a quick outro and that'll be a wrap. So platform's yours, my man.
Okay. So I guess I'll just start off by I just want to like show appreciation to my clients out there that are probably watching this. Thank you guys for, just making me feel good about your support, and like I mean something to you guys. That's a big deal to me. It makes me feel important, and because of that I work harder. Melissa, you're my best friend. I mean, you helped me set up the table so it looked right and I didn't look stupid up here. And she's a huge motivation for me. What's so funny is she just won the overall that I won the overall at. We just both won it in wellness, and she'll be doing nationals too. So like she's so disciplined, and she's motivating me so much. And of course, David, my mom's a huge supporter. She's my biggest fan. And David, he's obviously one of my biggest supporters. And I just wanted to take time to more say thank you. And my Instagram, I believe it's Jamal _Musbah. And I think that's it. If I would look here on my phone, I'm here, but I don't want to exit out of this thing.
I'll have it in the show notes for sure.
Okay, good. Yeah. And Jamal _Musbah. And then through that, if you guys ever want to go to like the training page, it's the Total Transformation AZ. It's on a link on my page. But otherwise, if you guys don't see me on Instagram, you might see me in that top 5 at nationals. And that's the goal. So you should be. And I hope you guys watch the show because it's going to be streaming. and it should be a really good one based off last year and who's competing this year. So, like, tune in, and I appreciate whoever decided to watch this and comment or whatever.
And if you get that pro card, you will definitely be back on the podcast. All right, Jamal?
All right, man.
Okay.
Can't wait.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All of you who are tuning into this episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, I just want to say thank you so very much. I appreciate all of you. I value all of you. And as I always say, if it weren't for all of you, the podcast simply would not exist. So thank you so much for all your continued support. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button in regards to BTM on YouTube. That's really important because I release all of these episodes first on YouTube, and then I'll distribute them to iTunes, CastBox, Podbean, and some of the other major podcast platforms. So if you want to stay up and current on all the Behind the Muscle podcast episodes, make sure you are subscribed to us on YouTube. And then also take this episode with Jamal, share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Jamal, tag Behind the Muscle, so that we know that you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it, in which I know you did. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.